So we got some great experts to talk to you about Star Wars Lego collecting. So I want to introduce to you Jeremy Beckett, Graham Hancock, and James Burns.
It's great to see you all here, and I'm glad to find out that you're all fans, but it is Lego Star Wars, not Star Wars Lego. And never, ever Legos. And if you can learn how to capitalize the word Lego as you say it, even better. It's a trick. So we are going to go straight into our presentation with a few facts. It's the first Lego licensed theme. Since 1999, we've had it on our shelves. The license just been extended to 2032, so any of you collectors out there thought you were going to get a break? No. I'm going to be 60 the next time they renew the license. There are more than 1,470 officially licensed Lego Star Wars items. Yeah, it's way more than you thought. So that covers all the sets and the magazines and the books. It's a wide gamut, and that doesn't even include the T-shirts either, which we think.
And stationery.
Yeah, no, that includes stationery, but not includes the T-shirts, which are at least 350 different T-shirts. Yeah, 710 different sets. You can do the maths, and there are at the moment. I think we need to update that by at least 3, possibly 12. So Bricklink will have 1,250 different minifigures, and that includes some variations as well. Our first section is Attack of the Retrospective. Guess what it's about?
You know that charge you get when you and the Jedis are facing down the dark side? You're about to find out. You can discover the new Lego Star Wars Episode 2 collection. Now you can master a different kind of force. Because with Lego, when you make it, you feel it. The new Lego Star Wars Attack of the Clones collection, each set sold separately.
So somehow it's 20 years since Attack of the Clones was released, which is absolutely terrifying to think about, but it's definitely the case because there's been a lot of content about it over the weekend. So the first Lego Star Wars Attack of the Clones set was actually a teaser set that came out a few months before the film's release in late February, early March. That one was 7143 Jedi Starfighter, and it was the first product to feature Obi-Wan Kenobi as he appeared in Attack of the Clones, because the Hasbro action figures focus more on the secondary and tertiary characters, whereas that one, went straight in there with Obi-Wan. So in The Phantom Menace, the Jedi obviously weren't seen in Starfighters. Attack of the Clones introduced the Jedi Starfighter, although Starfighter is a bit misleading because allegedly they didn't have any weapons at the time.
Just dry cool wit.
And the physics of the Jedi Starfighter don't quite work in the Lego section, in the Lego set, because you don't get a full astromech droid. You just used to get the dome that clipped on top of it. In total, there's been 28 different Jedi Starfighters since that very first one.
So anyone complaining about too many land speeders?
Yeah, we've had more Starfighters. We've had almost 3 times as many Starfighters than we have land speeders.
So far, there's been 8 for Episode 2, and that includes 2 system sets. And then in 2010, we got 10215 Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, which was not the first Ultimate Collector set, but one of the few Ultimate Collector sets based on their prequel trilogy. And then, going back to 2002, we've got the rest of the Lego Star Wars range that launched closer to the film's release. Chains like FAO Schwartz, Toys R Us, KB Toys, and all those guys took part in Midnight Madness on the 22nd of April, just 24... No, that can't be right, can it?
I'm not paying attention.
Something like that.
I'm just thinking of the toys and how cheap they were back
Who
then.
Who went to that Midnight Madness event? Anybody here?
Oh, not many hands.
Not many at all. Wow, okay.
Focusing on the system sets first. The system sets are the ones that are in scale with minifigures. And there's 3 from April 2002 that have never been revisited since, even today. So we've got We've got 71113 Tuscan Raider Encounter. And it's surprising in a way that that was ever released in the first place, because it's not the nicest of scenes to depict as a Lego set ahead of the film's release. Encounter's a very generous way of putting it. And although the Tuscan Raiders look a bit crude compared to the minifigures that we get today, like they have super detailed molded heads now, at the time it was pretty exciting to get a new alien species in Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
Who here wants to see Lego revisit that Bounty Hunter Pursuit? Because I think it's in urgent need of an update. So quite a lot of you, okay.
I think that one stands up pretty well, though, like compared to a lot of sets from that era. So 7133 Bounty Hunter Pursuit, that one was the one that depicted Anakin and Zam Wesell's chase through Coruscant. And it was just really nice change for Lego Star Wars because of how colourful those two speeders are. And on top of that, you got Obi-Wan and Anakin from Attack of the Clones in the same box. And Zam Wesell, though, has never appeared since as a Lego minifigure.
And what was special about that Zam Wesell minifigure?
She was one of the few to have a double-sided head.
She was the first.
First in Lego Star Wars. Yeah.
And it is, I think, in urgent need of an update. But
I'd like to see a new one.
Jeremy, what about set 7123? What do we know about that?
7123. I don't know, Graham, remind me.
That's the one. Apparently, we have. So they have a sequential pattern, right?
So we recently went and asked Lego directly about this missing set, and they have no recollection of it. And it's true to say that back in the early days of the Lego franchise, they didn't keep particularly good records of things, whereas over the last 10, 15 years, their records have improved dramatically. But going back to those early 3, 4, 5 years of the line, the records weren't great.
No, and by the time I got to do my book, there was nothing for me to start with.
And then we've got Slave One as another set that's never been revisited. It's not actually on this slide, but it was.
That's my fault. Sorry.
It was Boba Fett's Slave One. Django Fett Slave One. They look so similar. 7153.
Different colours.
7153 Django Fett Slave One. So that was a pretty impressive version of the ship for the time, particularly if you think of like how few Lego parts were available back then. And it was a big improvement on the previous Slave One based on Boba Fett's ship, which was released.
The rinky-dink one, 7144.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So boxy. That first one was just so boxy.
And it was really small, whereas Django Fett's was bigger. It used like a recoloured Boba Fett helmet, so you got the minifigure, and he had a printed face underneath. It was really cool, but it's never been revisited, so there's still not a modern version of Django Fett Slave One. And in the US, there was a unique version that came with a carry case as well for the people who are super hardcore about collecting and want to hunt down all of the weird stuff. Moving on to a set that has been revisited a lot of times. 7163 Republic Gunship was the first one in 2002, which was, again, a decent model for the time, really nice shaping.
Jedi Bob.
Cool. Jedi Bob. What's the story about Jedi Bob?
Oh, he's an old friend of mine.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to put him into canon when I was doing the original Lego Star Wars, the Visual Dictionary, which is a mouthful. He cropped up and they wanted to put a brick fact in about this guy, and I heard on a forum that someone was calling him Bob, so we just went with Jedi Bob, and Lego and Lucasfilm approved it, so he is now Jedi Bob, and he has never been remade.
He hasn't. And we did ask for him when we knew that they were going to do the UCS gunship. We did talk to them about, including that, even as a secret, or I don't know if people ever got the big Harry Potter set in Diagon Alley where they had the hidden mystery box inside. And we did talk to them about doing that, but they said that Lucasfilm has said no, so who knows?
The thing I love about that, though, Jedi Bob, is that of all the Jedi you could put in with the Republic Gunship, should we put in Mace Windu or Kit Fisto or one of these really cool Jedi? No, just a random generic dude with a beard. But yeah, why not?
Fans have given him a fantastic backstory.
Yes.
The Republic Gunship was also relevant because it introduced the Super Battle Droid figure, which was a completely new mould, and it was in like an interesting shade of blue.
Which has never been released again in that shade.
The Clone Troopers at the time had quite a cool helmet design that was only available for a couple of years before that was changed to something very different. In 2008 there was a new version of the Republic Gunship, but it wasn't released it wasn't released based on Attack of the Clones, it was released based on the Clone Wars. And that's a bit of a theme here, because the reason that there's not been that many Lego sets based on Attack of the Clones is because once the Clone Wars debuted in 2008, lots of those clone vehicles were based on the series, not the movie. So it just makes Attack of the Clones a bit of an anomaly within the prequel trilogy.
Say that again, please.
Anomaly.
Very good.
Thank you.
We'll fix that in post.
Absolutely. And yeah, within the prequel trilogy, there's just that interesting thing that Attack of the Clones didn't get that same focus that The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith got subsequently. But in 2013, there was a bit of a push for Attack of the Clones because it was supposed to be released in 3D. And that's when we got a new version of the Republic Gunship that was specifically based on that. And that's where we get this cool green box art with Yoda on that was intended to tie in with that 3D movie. And 75021 Republic Gunship is notable because that's the first set to include Padme based on Attack of the Clones. So it took like 11 years for Padme to get a minifigure from Attack of the Clones rather than the Phantom Menace.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year, the best version of the Republic Gunship yet was released, the Ultimate Collector's Series 1. And that was chosen based on a fan vote. So fans could choose between the Nebulon B frigate, the TIE bomber, and the gunship. And whichever one was going to be this new Ultimate Collector Series set. And yeah, as you can see, as many of you will know from having it in your collections, it's massive. It's got a very impressive wingspan.
And we got some amazing minifigures. No, we didn't. We didn't get any clone pilots. We didn't. No. Oh. Such a missed opportunity.
So taking us back to that first wave of sets in 2002, there was one more traditional Lego set that year, and it was 7103 Jedi Duel. And that was the first Lego Star Wars set to include Yoda, who looked very different to a modern minifigure again. There was no printing on the head, it was just moulded. The short legs had only been introduced that year for the Ewoks, so the designers took full advantage of those.
How many toes did he have, though?
How many toes did he have?
Yeah, you need to count toes. In the Star Wars movies, don't look at there.
He has one toe on each foot in a Lego set. And for a long time, that set was the only way to get Count Dooku. It took ages for him to return. In 2013, the set got revisited. As you can see on the slide, it's much bigger than the original one. It actually included a bit of an environment. Count Dooku looked refreshed. Yoda looked refreshed.
The speeder was the right colour.
The speeder was the right colour, yeah. It wasn't based on concept art and guesswork. And Poggle the Lesser turned up in the set for the first time. But there was also some other stuff in that first year for Attack of the Clones beyond the regular sets. So, there's something interesting about the Anakin Skywalker one, right, Jeremy?
Yes, yes. I think it was the first misprint in a Lego Star Wars set.
And then there was also a Clone Trooper, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Jango Fett in that wave. And Jango Fett had a chrome-plated helmet in there, right? Which was the only way you could get that.
Very underrepresented.
And then there's two more oddities that launched in 2002. The Technic sets, 8011 Jango Fett and 8012 Super Battle Droid. They don't work quite as well as the droids did from the previous year that were based on the Phantom Menace. The sort of Technic system lent itself really well to the Battle Droid and the Droidica and things.
Except if you tried to collapse the destroyer droid.
Could you not get that to
Never.
work? I got that to
Never.
work. I was so happy when it worked as well. It was like as if this thing rolls up.
I never got it to work either, so you have to show us how you did it.
We'll definitely have to, we'll have to spend some time practicing our Droidica rolling.
Yep.
And then in 2015, 7510 Jango Fett is kind of a successor to the previous Jango Fett. It's different. It's part of LEGO's character and creature building system, which is their way of saying Bionicle, which is an action figure system that the LEGO group has in this modern era. And as you can see, very different to the Technic set, but very much in the same vibe, very much the same kind of idea. And on the topic of oddities, 2003 and 2004, we had the mini building sets, and they came in clamshells. So these are the kind of things that today we'd get in Polybags, but back then they were kind of traditional products that you would buy at retail, and there were 3 for episode 2 that you can see up on this slide here. And then there was a similar experiment in 2012 and 2013 with the planet sets, and each one of those had a minifigure, a mini vehicle, and a molded planet. So there was one for Kamino, one for Coruscant, based on Attack of the Clones. And then we've got a new kind of low-priced collectible entry point now, which are the micro fighters. There's the Republic Gunship and homing spider droid based on Attack of the Clones. And again, you can see the same ideas just kind of roll on over time, and they just get adapted in different ways. But there's always a kind of low-priced mini set to focus on. And then the last weird Lego set based on Attack of the Clones is this Yoda's lightsaber.
This was really bizarre because they brought out the Mos Eisley Cantina and they decided to give away a lightsaber, which they do, they always give away a gift with purchase for some of the more expensive sets. But why they chose Yoda's lightsaber from Attack of the Clones to go with the Cantina is baffling because there's no real correlation between the two at all. I mean, Obi-Wan's lightsaber maybe, or Luke's even.
Or Han's blaster.
Yeah, but really odd, really odd.
It's fun and different, though, as you can see on the slide. It's, something fresh.
Goes for a lot of money already. I mean, it's, immensely collectible.
So, one of the most interesting Attack of the Clones sets is 4481 Hailfire Droid, and that one was released in 2003. And what's pretty cool about that is that it's basically a Technic set, but you can use it as part of like a Geonosis arena setup alongside the other sets based on that. And it really does feel like a hefty toy when you've built it. It rolls along nicely. As you can see, it's got massive wheels. It's something that's a bit different. It's never quite been repeated in the same way. When they did revisit it in 2015, it's smaller. It's not quite as interesting. It's more like a traditional Lego set. Another separatist vehicle that we've had from Attack of the Clones is the Geonosian Fighter, which was released in 2003 originally, and then it was revisited later, but based on its Clone Wars version. So this is the only version based on Attack of the Clones. And then from the Battle of Geonosis, there's also been 75015 Corporate Alliance Tank Droid and 75016 Homing Spider Droid. And again, both of those were from 2013 when it was all about Attack of the Clones again for a year. But those are the separatists, and the clones needed a fighting chance as well. So there's been 4 ATT sets over the years, 2 based on Attack of the Clones, 4482 from 2003, and that includes the old style of Clone Trooper minifigures, which are very uncommon indeed. And then in 2013, there was 75019, and that includes the Coleman Trebor minifigure, which is unique to that set. Very cool, and no doubt very desirable. And then if you want to bulk out your clone army, there's ways to do that as well without just buying enormous ATTs and Republic Gunships. Over the years, there was Clone Troopers versus Droidicas in 2013, Jedi and Clone Troopers Battle Pack in 2018, and then the Clone Trooper Command Station recently in 2021. And that one's a bit unusual because it's blister packed, which is obviously not the way we expect to get Lego sets. They come in boxes, they come in bags. That one comes on a card like an action figure.
And it's only available from Lego. You can't actually buy it from other retailers. You can only get it from either going to a Lego retail store or buying it from Lego.com, provided it's in stock.
And each year there are micro Attack of the Clones vehicles. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead too far. There's one more set to talk about before we get onto that. So there's a random Attack of the Clones set that popped up in the last Jedi launch in 2019. 75255 Yoda is a sculpture model of the character in which he's ready with his lightsaber. And in the product images and in the picture that you see on the box, his face looks really weird. He doesn't quite look like Yoda.
It does work in real life.
In real life, it's fantastic.
Exactly. You just tilt his eyelids a little bit, and all of a sudden, it captures the Yoda character better. So,
it looks like he's sucking on a lemon.
But yeah, when you build that set, be sure to position the eyes the way that look like Yoda. And then, yeah, so there's also the advent calendars when there's always micro vehicles in those every year, and there's always some from Attack of the Clones. But this 2013 one we've got up here in particular is interesting because it had a special Christmas Jango Fett and a young Boba Fett minifigure. So you could kind of imagine Christmas in the Fett household. And I always wonder if it was inspired. Well, do you remember on StarWars.com there was like a flash animation called Holiday with the Fetts?
Yes.
And I always wonder whether this was inspired by it or not. But
It was, yeah, it probably was.
you would think so.
Yeah.
But yeah. And one of the hardest to find collectibles from Attack of the Clones was part of an event that Walmart stores ran. The Jedi Academy took place in 2002 to promote the movie. And as part of it, children could build as many clone troopers as possible in 60 seconds. And then you get to keep them. So stores were sent this box with 150 clone trooper minifigures in, all loose, broken up. And yeah, as you can imagine, these are really hard to get now because obviously, well, they've been hard to get ever since then. Now they're astronomically expensive because obviously they went to stores, kids built their clone troopers, the boxes got thrown away. Yeah, which is a crying shame. And
I'm crying. I'm sad on the inside.
I mean, it's that original Clone Trooper minifigure as well from 2002 and 2003.
I love that phase.
Imagine
The
if you got a
Rocketeer.
box of 150 of those.
I did. I had one, and that's why I'm crying inside, because I don't have it anymore.
You should be crying on the outside as well then.
We're in public. Graham, we're in public.
So you've had a look through the database, Jeremy, at the Holo-Brick Archives
Yes.
to see which prequel film has the most sets.
Attack of the Clones is quite clearly the most underrepresented of the prequel trilogy. It's James, do you know why they've never really paid much attention to it?
I don't know. I think at the time when the film was coming out, there was a lot of other things going on. And if you look at that sort of time period when, you know, in 2001, there was the least number of Lego sets that we've ever had. And then I just think, you know, they were slowly building up, but it was a real lull.
And even with the 2013 revival,
Yeah.
they still didn't catch up.
No,
And
which is a real
Revenge of the
shame.
Sith never had a revival.
No. Although, again, you know, we've got the 20th anniversary for Revenge of the Sith coming up, so maybe there'll be a few more sets for that.
And we are getting a new Attack of the Clones set this year.
We are, which is fantastic. And long overdue.
So yeah, the Jedi Starfighter was literally announced a day or so before Star Wars Celebration.
Yes.
And that's going to have the first Torn Wii minifigure in it, so for minifigure collectors.
And a
That's
new
very
Obi-Wan
exciting.
Kenobi.
Yeah, new Obi-Wan Kenobi and a new R4P17, which won't have back printing. So for those people that have just got the recent new sets, the new diorama sets, you'll notice that R2-D2 for the first time has back printing in both of those sets, and it's going to remain exclusive for the time being just to R2-D2. But obviously now they've got the technology to do that, which is great news.
And I'd just like to go back a slide and give a plug to
No, I can't. Press the button now.
the issue of Blocks magazine that we've got available now, which has the top 10 Attack of the Clones sets in it, along with a whole bunch of other Star Wars features, including a look at the new video game.
Which is awesome. Who's played the new video game? Wow.
And that's got an Attack of the Clones collection because Daniel Logan's in it voicing Boba Fett.
With all new lines
Yes.
for his little self. So our next section is a new focus. We're going to look on ways you can attack your collection and pare it down if it's all getting a bit too big and boxed up. And we start with a look at my collection.
Jeremy, talk us through this.
It's a whole load of boxes.
Yeah, but you've built every set in the box. though,
I
haven't
have. I built the pool house that it's in. It's all assembled in roughly chronological order, starting in the top left, working down each column. I took a bit of a pause in about section 7 for 10 years, and then way over on the other side of the diorama display, I picked it up again in 2015, so everything had to be filled in, and then it just continues on. And if you look at it closely, you can work out roughly by year how many sets it's accelerated by through time. But it's not easy. Not everyone has space or time or the money to collect like this, so there are other ways that you can collect Lego Star Wars.
Okay, so let's have a look at the first of those ways. So we talked about organising your collection, and you can see how organised Jeremy has got his. But what you can do, though, is just look at taking a film, perhaps, and deciding that you're just going to collect a specific film. So if you take Rogue One, for example, there's over 20 sets, there's 21 sets for Rogue One.
It's one of the smallest lines.
Yeah, but
the smallest line is Solo.
Yeah. But that's achievable potentially. You know, you can go and collect all 21 of those sets and build up, you know, a nice collection. And some of those minifigs, I have to say, some of those Rogue One minifigs are some of my favourite.
Oh, yeah. It's my favourite Bannerhead as well.
Yeah.
Just love the Death Trooper.
And I would imagine with Andor, we're going to see some of those designs coming back, maybe.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's
But
really
the
hope.
trick is with focusing on one film is to stick to one film
Yes.
and don't get sucked in by
Don't give
the
yourself
next thing,
excuses.
because then you have that complete collection. You can look at it and know you've got
Enjoy
the-
it.
Just one more set.
Yes. If only.
But if you were to do Solo, and you really wanted to have the smallest collection, you could go for the buildable figures. Or you could do the Rogue One sets, which is, what have we got there? We've got 7. So the buildable figures was another kind of truncated line, wasn't it?
Not my favourite, though.
But you call it construction.
Well, that's what they called it inside Lego at the time. So I've always referred to it as that.
Yeah, that makes it sound ugly, though, doesn't it?
It is.
Either way, either version is shorter than what is it? Creature and character building system.
CCBS.
Yes.
Yeah, CCBS. But yeah, collecting a sub-theme is another way of just keeping it manageable, keeping it to something that stops you from getting overwhelmed by Ultimate Collector Series or System, or just go for one of them and then just focus in on that. And again, something like Buildable Figures only runs for a few years anyway, so it kind of keeps it manageable in terms of time frame.
Well, that's what they do with some of these things. They'll try something, and if it doesn't work particularly well, then they'll only run it for a couple of years. So they've done that a few times. I mean, like the planets is another great example of
they
that.
were cool. Really like those.
Yeah, I like those as well. And if you came to our Lego presentation in 2012, we actually gave away planet sets at the panel. So
But we're going from one end of the collecting
yes.
wedge to the other.
So who here collects Ultimate Collector Series sets? So these are some of the most specialised and most difficult Lego Star Wars sets available. Also some of the most expensive as well. We've just recently had the 8080 that was released, which is a phenomenal set. It's probably my favourite Lego Star Wars set at the moment.
I'm a big fan of the Landspeeder.
Yeah.
It wasn't a symmetrical build.
Yep.
It was a different colour. And
Yep.
the designer has been here
Yes.
at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. So if you wanted to go and catch Caesar and tell him what you think of another Landspeeder, I'm sure he's got open ears.
And that's one of the really nice things recently is it's been such a varied line. So we've had like the Republic Gunship, we've had the Landspeeder. It's not just big grey ships anymore. It really is showing something
Except if you're a
different.
sequel trilogy fan, because there are no UCS sets from that
That's true.
Yet.
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 Yes.
And what's interesting, if you look at the pattern of release, we recently did an interview with the designers, and they tend to choose a grey ship and then a coloured, or so they did a grey ship, then a white ship, which was the gunship. Then they, so they're trying to intersperse the grey releases with something different.
Well, the next one's a metallic grey, I believe.
It could be.
You didn't hear that first here. But there's one thing about the UCS series. It is a very hard sub-theme to pin down. There's so many ways you can categorize it. There's the R2-D2 and the BB-8 sculptures can come into it if you're sticking to the absolute definition.
Even Lego have changed their mind on the categories that some of the sets fall into. So they've taken them in and out of particular categories. And when they released the Cloud City set, they came up with a new name, the Master Builder Series. Now, the Master Builder Series wasn't ever supposed to be called a Master Builder Series set. That was an internal name that they never intended to release. And then the marketing behind Lego decided to put the name out, much to the annoyance of the team.
But there's one thing about the Ultimate Collector series is it does keep IKEA going because you've got to buy so many sets. Another way of collecting Lego Star Wars is just to concentrate on one planet. So if Tatooine is your favorite, you might want to pick up the latest Celebration souvenir guide because there's a special article on that, on all the sets that come from the Sandy world.
Polybags. So this is, fantastic. There are so many different polybags that have come out over the years with a wide variety of different minifigures, different ships. They're normally fairly easy to obtain. They're available pretty much everywhere. They're sold in Walmart and other places. And lots of times when you go to the Lego store, they're going to give them away free as well. So they're quite priced really, really competitively. It's a fairly easy way to get in to the hobby. Although if you need to, go back and fill in your holes, some of the minifigures are very, very expensive.
Now, did anyone in the audience pick an ARF Black Trooper up during Celebration? Oh,
congratulations.
Well done. Well done. So the ARF Black Trooper was one that came out in 2012 as a May the 4th be with you GWP. There were problems with distribution. It popped up again 6-7 months later in the US, and then again 6 months later in Europe, and then disappeared. And everyone assumed all the stocks had been consumed. Lego recently found a box of them, and they were a GWP, but they kept it very secret at the retail booth down at the Lego stand here. So anyone who spent $180 picked up a $400 minifigure.
Wow.
Yeah, they're gone. They went days ago. When word spread, there was a lot
pretty
of
much
spending.
everything has gone on the Lego booth. But
the beauty of polybags, though, is just that they're a space saver for collecting. So if you don't have a huge amount of space for collecting, polybags are small. Even if you've got 100 of them, it only takes up, a reasonable amount of room.
And then the thing that you see on the right-hand side, in Europe, there is a Lego Star Wars magazine. It's been going for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And every single month on that, you get a cover-mounted, either a build or a minifigure. It's not available in the US and Canada for licensing reasons, unfortunately. But it's a great way to get into Lego, and the builds there, I have to say, some of the, they've tackled Acclays and some really obscure
that
things.
Cool. I like the little Yoda hut too.
But they've done some really amazing little builds which they haven't ever included in the main line.
And they're all original
crazy.
too.
Yeah.
Now, just a last word on polybags. As a thank you for coming, you're all getting one as you leave.
Big thanks to Lego for that.
Thanks to Lego for that. Lego and Disney arranged that for us.
That's a very easy applause line, isn't it?
Free. Clap for free, everybody. Yeah!
So another way in, and a lot of people do this actually, and if you ever look on eBay, you're going to find a lot of sets available without minifigures. And the reason for that is that a lot of people have minifigure collections. So people will go out of their way to collect every single minifigure.
It's a bit like action figure collecting.
Yeah, it is.
But you've got to buy a big set to get them.
Yes. And considering that some of the minifigures are exclusive to sets that, $700-800, it can get very expensive, which is why they then go on eBay and they sell the rest of the set boxed as new for, 3/4 of the price sometimes.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if you're going to get into minifigure collecting, some little words of advice: start simple. Pick something, a theme of a minifigure, like Clone Troopers is a good one.
Yep.
Jawas. Pick Jawas. They're really easy to pick up. So your focus, we've got a display here with the pilots, the Rebel pilots and Resistance pilots. The eagle-eyed out there will see Finch Dallow.
Yes.
Now that's one that's going to set you back big money. It was packed in the Resistance bomber from the last Jedi line.
Yep.
As the set was retiring, Lego in the US brought out a little revival, another final wave, and they changed one of the characters out for a bit more diversity.
Yep.
And that goes for $800 to $900. There's been a huge run on it recently. But back when it came out, you could pick it up for free. You just called up Lego, I've got this set, can you replace it? Yes. Time travel, eh?
Yeah. I recently bought mine and paid big money for it. So another way is to, you can get frames, really, really nice frames, where you can actually build your collection out, and you can slowly expand your collection. So you maybe start with Rebel pilots and then expand out to Resistance pilots, then you can build out the collection.
Jedis,
Yep.
Clone Troopers,
Yep.
Jawas again. Big fan of Jawas. And then go crazy. If you want to see them all, you can go down to the Lego booth where they've got the Minifigure Monolith.
And that's a brand new model that's been updated and created specifically for the show by Eric, who's downstairs as well on the booth, and he'll be happy to talk you through it.
He might even point out which are his sons.
Yes.
Because Lego was missing some, so they had to raid his toy box.
A little secret on that, Lego didn't have all the minifigures available. They had to buy some of them on eBay. I was shocked when they told me that.
So quite obviously, the rarest minifigures are the most expensive. The list here will show you the top 5.
Yes.
Most of them aren't normal minifigures. Most of them are very, very rare promotional sets. The top one came from the Cloud City set that came out in, 2003?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that had arm prints. That was special for that.
Yep.
I remember getting an email from Lego.com saying they had it on sale and, just filing the email and thinking, I'll do that next week. I regret that.
Yes.
And then we've recently had 2 new minifigures, again celebrating the Tatooine theme. And if you all look at your little stickers, you'll see it up on the screen there.
So Aunt Beru was a much, much requested minifigure, and it's taken, 23 years
Well,
to finally get her.
Owen's been a bachelor for 17 years since he first came out.
So
He's happy now.
Yeah.
If you do get into Lego Star Wars minifigure collecting, there is an app that's available for iOS and Android. It's pretty cheap and it's very, very comprehensive. So moving on to our final section is the rise of the adult collector.
6 minutes.
Now this is a section that Lego has capitalized on during the recent pandemic. There's been a lot of people stuck in houses. They didn't organize it. It just timed that they were getting into the adult scheme as we all got locked inside. Now, Lego's originally intended to be played with by children, and the arrival of the Lego Star Wars theme drew in a whole new breed of consumers, and that was the collector. We're different. You know that, right? Well, Lego understood the adult fan, which we call AFOLs, Adult Fan of Lego, quick little acronym for you. They bought their sets to build them, and to some extent play with them, because it's a toy after all. Or they bought the bricks just to build their own designs. But the concept of buying Lego just to have it on display was alien to the company. So the adult market, Lego works very closely with AFOLs, and we're all 3 of them, and they have a special network that they use to drive information and gauge how things are going.
Yeah, there's a whole community engagement team who are focused on looking at what fans want.
It's a secret society.
No,
Is it?
no, you're allowed to. You're allowed to talk about it. But I mean, you've put on there that the AFOL market traditionally only made up 5%. Over the last few years, that's grown by 300%. I mean,
400%.
400% to 20%.
That was to 2015.
Yeah.
So in the last 2 years, it's exploded enormously. And it all started with these 2 little beauties. These were the first sets that technically weren't aimed at adults, but they were aimed at the more advanced builders, because it was still a children's toy, so it was teens. It was the nimble-handed, quick-thinking teens. And then they brought out the architecture range and the modular buildings, and that is a theme I do not regret not getting into.
Yeah, I've unfortunately fallen into that trap.
It's gone on a lot longer than we
Yeah,
expected.
15 plus years now.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
But they're so pretty. But we're talking about Star Wars. But before we get back to that, the very, very first set that was specifically aimed at the adult market, as in it was driven by adult interest, it was driven by adult sales, it was driven by adult marketing themes, was the Central Perk from Friends. And it's so popular now that it is available. It's been out 3 years now. And as long as people are buying it, Lego will replace it on the shelves.
It was the most popular, or one of the most popular sets in 2019. It kept selling out, and they kept having to do reruns of sets, which is unusual because they normally plan things out so carefully.
So the first test into the Lego Star Wars market was the brick sketches, and that was a little concept. It's a bit like chase cards with trading card people. That came along, and it took everybody by surprise. No one was aware it was coming. These were followed up a month later by a series of mosaic sets that included one that you could be made into Darth Vader, Darth Maul, or Kylo Ren, or you could buy 3 and combine it into the tall Vader. Or if you wanted all 4, you had to spend a lot of money. Then they brought out the helmets, which I like to call bucket heads. These have been non-stop popular, and I reckon they could have kept these in production continually and just...
Some of them, they're not going to keep all in production, but there's some of them.
Yeah, but that TIE Fighter pilots, it's highly sought after now.
And these are more manageable than UCS sets if you're an adult collector who wants something that doesn't take up quite as much shelf space.
Yeah.
Only $65 is, it's pretty competitively priced.
So these are 0.45 scale, and it was a concept that Lego had seen with Rydell and was it Master Replicas?
Yeah, it's Master Replicas.
In the 90s and the noughties. So they thought, well, we can keep this going. And then they really started the ball rolling, and we started getting exclusives. We started getting GWPs, and last 2020 was when this should have been happening here, when the world went into pause mode. We've got the Bespin Duel and the Lightsaber, and then the A-Wing, which you can actually fit a 3 3/4 inch vintage action figure into, and then followed by more helmets, and then a highly detailed and articulated probe droid. And you'll also notice the packaging change there as well. You had a very distinct black box, like a luxury chocolate, and that was specifically aimed because it signified value. It signified a level of quality.
It attracts adults, supposedly.
Yeah.
Well, it does, but...
No, there's market research into it. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Then more. And then we had the first open-faced helmet, we had the shiny Mandalorian, and then the Dark Trooper. Adopting the adults welcome tagline in November 2021 really cemented the fact that Lego is embracing the grown-ups who like to build Lego. The new masthead came an even larger range of adult collector sets, which is expanded into the Titanic, the Colosseum, soccer stadiums, flowers. We are the new breed of Lego fans. So you can build your minifigures, you can run around swooshing them, but now you're expected to fill your mantelpiece with them. I think that's the end of our talk.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Thank you very much.